Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Podcast by Army podcast, where we talk about BTS, Army, fandom, and research. We are your co-hosts, Dr. Kate Ringland and
Jhertau Her, a university researcher.
And today we're talking about Army. Just Army. But more specifically, we're talking about the different places you can find Army. There's Twitter and TikTok and Instagram and lots of other places.
Yeah, specifically online spaces, but also intersecting with offline spaces too.
Yes, because we are everywhere. Literally everywhere.
Literally everywhere. It's so funny because sometimes my parents are, why are you still up? And I'm watching a movie with my friend from India. We're hanging out, and this is the only time that works.
Yes. No, and it's really cool because I have been meeting a lot of Army in person. So I've been traveling a lot for
Mr. Worldwide right here.
Yeah. And so any city I go to, I can be like, hey, any Army here? And I have 100% success rate with actually finding Army in the places that I've been visiting. So that's been super fun.
You've literally just been picking up armies everywhere you go.
Yeah, no. So I was just in Minneapolis and I went to a cup sleeve and met a bunch of Army, and it was really fun.
Hey, that's really nice. But yeah, today, I guess we can jump right into it. We're both Twitter armies.
Yes, although technically I started as a TikTok Army.
Yeah, technically I started as a Reddit Army.
Ooh. I was actually just having a conversation with somebody recently about Reddit and how so it's funny because I used to use Reddit many years ago.
When it was old Reddit?
When it was old Reddit. Yes. And I was never in the places where it felt a super safe space. I don't have Reddit Army experience because I have not experienced the new Reddit. But so that's kind of cool.
Yeah. I feel like Reddit armies, BTS and Reddit have a very interesting history because I feel like before 2020, Reddit, K-pop Reddit didn't really exist. There are some people who are on there who talked about it, but didn't really exist. And the biggest subreddit was r/Bangtan, which is the BTS subreddit. The general K-pop subreddits weren't even as big as r/Bangtan. But now, a lot of the more generalized discussion Reddits, K-pop thoughts, and unpopular K-pop opinions, all of those, unpopular K-pop opinions, it did go down because of drama. But a lot of those, they didn't start getting a lot more people on there till April of 2020. When the lockdown first started.
Right.
Because I remember I was on K-pop Reddit in February 2020. Not a lot of people on there. I mostly went on there for news, to look at things. Because I like using Reddit. Because that's my home. Because I was a gamer. I looked at league statistics on Reddit. Oh, bad times, Kate. Bad times. Oh, nerd. Excuse me. You played Baldur's Gate 2.
I was a gamer before you were born. It's fine. We can say that.
Hey, it's okay. The gaming never stops. The grind.
True.
No, but literally. So yeah, that's in the context of K-pop Reddit. It only really started popping off April 2020. And then after that, it started to gain more momentum. And then a lot of drama with K-pop Reddit. I think K-pop Reddit is like an enigma. There's so much discussion and stuff that happens on there, but it really doesn't matter because they suck at community organizing.
Interesting. Okay, so to take a step back, I wanted to talk a little bit about how each social media platform, so we have these different kind of Army experiences on these different platforms, and it's because each platform has its own infrastructure and its own way for you to be able to be social on the different platforms. And so that's an interesting point that you bring up with Reddit. There's a lot of kind of, required moderation because people are actually in charge of keeping their own subreddits moderated. So it's a little bit different than some other platforms in that it actually has a much higher personal investment for people who are mods and administrating these spaces.
Yeah. If you're active on the subreddits, people know you. So it's a community based off activity, but also a lot of times I feel people just don't connect a lot because a lot of it's just you have a
Mm,
reply, you read it. And
hmm.
I don't know, it goes into Tumblr too. A lot of the long form social media sites, they don't allow for that back and forth that kind of Twitter
Right.
has, where we can conversing. With Reddit and with Tumblr, I feel people aren't conversing, they're telling and then
Right.
responding, and they're not actually talking back and forth.
Yeah, I know. I totally feel that way with Tumblr. It feels a little bit, especially if you're new or you don't have much of an audience, it feels a little bit just shouting into the void. But in this long form, I just wrote this big long thing and I have no idea if anybody's reading it or cares. It's interesting in that respect. But yeah, whereas places, I don't know, I don't have a lot of experience with newer Facebook either, but I imagine Facebook probably has a bit more back and forth. Facebook is interesting in that there's a lot more, your identity is actually a little bit at stake and stuff too. Yeah, so different platforms have these different affordances for how you can interact.
Yeah. To add on to what you're talking about with Tumblr armies, I've told you about this before too, but a
Hmm.
lot of Tumblr armies, they work through these things called networks. These are big groups of armies who come together, they make a network. So they basically reblog and things, and it's basically join the club. And you talk to people through that and you share your posts, and then the network, it reblogs your posts, so it boosts them with the follower count the network has. But what's interesting about Tumblr armies is that Tumblr is not their main vehicle of communication.
Mm.
They have a secondary
Yeah,
website or app that they use for
yeah,
communicating. So a lot of
yeah,
times when you join a network, you're required to also join their Discord
yeah,
or to join their WhatsApp.
yeah.
So Tumblr armies, they adapt more than people on other websites who might have more functionality to communicate with each other.
Yeah, no, that was the first thing I noticed because the first network I joined, I was, oh, now I'm on a Discord server and not actually spending any time on Tumblr. Which was fine because then I was getting the back and forth that I actually wanted with folks. But I thought that was an interesting kind of adaptation to be okay, now that we actually want to communicate, we're going to go somewhere else entirely.
Yeah. Another interesting part of that is that a lot of the drama that happens on Tumblr happens on Discord servers. A lot of the time when drama happens, no one has receipts because people delete the Discord server, they put it
Right.
down or kick everyone so they can't see everything. People don't have receipts. It's all he said, she said. It's very interesting how drama develops on each platform because drama, I feel, on Army Tumblr is very secluded, or you have to be part of a certain group of people in order to know what the drama is, or even to
Right.
understand it. Because sometimes, because I use Tumblr too, and I'm active as a Tumblr army, I make photo edits and video edits. And sometimes the people in my Discord server will be talking about some drama, and I have no idea what you're talking about. I'm gonna move on
Yeah.
with my day.
Yeah. Whereas places, Twitter, everybody is forced into the drama whether they want to be there or
Yeah.
not.
Drama is very public on Twitter. I joke about this sometimes, but seeing two mutuals start fighting, it's mom, dad, stop.
Yeah, exactly. And literally everyone knows about it. And you're getting DMs about, oh my God, did you see so? And it's just, oh, I just want
Yeah.
peace.
No, the way people who start arguing with each other, the moment the DMs start, or people start talking about it in group chats, did you see person? They said this to this person. They're like, I think this person was right. And then that causes fights and everything. And my God, the whole behind the scenes of Army Twitter, all the Discord
Yeah,
servers, all of
yeah,
that space is insane. There's a whole
yeah,
behind the scenes going on to Army Twitter that people on the timeline will never see. And it's insane.
yeah. No, it's true. It's funny because if you don't care that much or you're not super engaged or whatever, you might never see any of that. You just see whatever remains on the timeline, but you don't realize all this huge underbelly of the community going back and forth behind the scenes. It's really wild to actually see how and then see it spill over because for example that the Discord I'm on for the network on Tumblr will often be, oh my God, did you see what was happening over on Twitter? And it'll be this spillover and you're just, why is this everywhere? I just want a peaceful day.
Yeah, what's really interesting is seeing the interactions between different platforms in armies of different
Mhm.
platforms, because there's so many times where Tumblr armies will be like, oh my god, Twitter armies, they're crazy over there. And I'm like,
Uh,
wasn't someone just doxxed last week on Army Tumblr? What do you
right.
mean? Where is this coming from? This post is also a little wild. It's not
Yeah.
just them over there, it's also here. I don't.
Exactly. No, exactly. I think that anywhere that there's going to be people, right, there's going to be drama and there's going to be bad actors and there's going to be fights. People are going to be people no matter where they are. It's just how that movement happens and then how much the platform might influence algorithmically how much people see or how much people can interact with it. That all shifts platform to platform. But the baseline, there will be drama and there will be fighting, and there because people are just naturally going to have tension between them as in communities. It's just the way communities work. But it's really fascinating to see it, especially when you have the really public spaces to watch it ripple out and see where the other spaces get impacted. Because even if we're all residing on different platforms, we're all connected as Army, right? And things eventually leak out to the other places and get shared on the other platforms.
Yeah. I feel sometimes on Army Twitter armies, they have a superiority complex where they think we are better, we do more than other platforms. But really, each platform has their own strength. And really, we're all
Yeah.
interconnected anyway. Because it's like you and me. We both mainly use Twitter, but I'm
Mhm.
also on Tumblr. I'm on Reddit.
Right,
You can
right.
find me.
Yeah. I mean, I literally have accounts everywhere. I'm just where you can reach me almost anywhere. It's just wherever I'm most active. Right now it's Twitter until Twitter is no more. But
By the time this episode goes up, the Twitter is gone. It's like done for.
I would not be surprised the rate things are going. But I just think that it's interesting because and of course people are on a particular platform because it's doing things for them or that's where the people are they have relationships with and friendships with and stuff. And so they're going to be in the places and they're going to see it as the place that is the best because they're choosing to spend their time there. So yeah, I just think it's interesting, especially now with the way the Twitter platform is dying, it's gasping its last breaths here. I think it's interesting for one to see the way that Army Twitter has really held on. Just we're not going to let go until they kick us out the door. And then also this kind of this feeling of, oh, Twitter, what are we going to do without Twitter? Where are we going to go? Because none of the other platforms do quite what Twitter does. And so there's that feeling too.
Historically, Twitter has tried to move to Instagram in 2018. You can ask older armies about it. It's called the Big Migration or something. They tried to all move to Instagram. I'm not sure why exactly, but they tried to do that, didn't work, and they all came back to Twitter. But now I feel Instagram wouldn't support how our community works.
No. Yeah, Instagram it's an interesting platform because there's a way to interact in comments and things in the same way, but the fact that you have to have a visual with every post, there's certain things about it that kind of make it awkward to just have regular conversations, right? Because it feels there has to be a feature when you're posting something. And then it has a lot of other affordances, stories and reels and stuff. It doesn't have a really strong identity except for the whole picture thing. And then I feel the whole picture video thing really lends to supporting a particular kind of poster. It's really great for looking at fan art and it's really great for editing whatever. I just think that if people just want to have discourse, it doesn't lend itself to that at all.
Yeah, the same goes with Tumblr. Something very interesting that I have been following is Minecraft YouTubers and their fandoms. And I have been following how a lot of Minecraft YouTuber Twitter fans, a lot of them are migrating to Tumblr, actually. And it's interesting to see how so many of them try to do the same things they do on Twitter, on Tumblr, right? There's this specific thing where they try to ratio people, but that doesn't work on Tumblr. Because reblogs and likes and replies to a post, it all goes to the original poster still. Right. Even if you add something completely different onto the post. It's interesting to see the dynamics of people who are originally Minecraft YouTuber Tumblr users trying to teach the Twitter users how to use Tumblr, and then the Twitter users trying to adapt to the new space. I think also Minecraft YouTubers, their fandoms move around a lot. There's a lot of migrating and changing because of different needs. Basically, I know the Minecraft YouTuber Tumblr scene, they are all interconnected as a community, but on Twitter, they're much more segregated. So if you're a fan of one Minecraft YouTuber in particular on Twitter, you are only surrounded by other people who are fans of that Minecraft YouTuber. But on Tumblr, it's much different. Tumblr also has a longer fandom culture that's existed on the website. So there's a whole joke back in the day, I remember in 2017, 2018, where every once in a while, one of your mutuals would turn into a K-pop account. And that's how interconnected everything was, though. I had a lot of friends who would start getting into something new. How I got into My Hero Academia was because of one of my friends who would reblog gift sets all the time of the anime. So I was okay, I'll watch it. Fine, I'll watch it. And then I watched it, and it was great. But it's so interesting to see what other fandoms are experiencing and then applying that to our own experiences too, and understanding where our fandom is at. What do you think about that, Kate? You've done research with Minecraft.
I have. Although it's interesting because the community I was working with, they were doing some fandom stuff, but they were very focused on this particular server and this particular community. So it was very specific, which is interesting now that I think about it. But it partly is because they were all skewed younger. They were all under 13. A lot of them were under 13. Their parents weren't allowing them necessarily to be out on Reddit and Tumblr and other places. They were allowed to be on this community website, and that's it, because there was parental supervision happening, which is interesting given the things we were just discussing about the different platforms. But
I guess the age thing is interesting to talk about when it comes to each platform. Because I feel, I don't have data for this, but I feel Twitter armies are older.
I think that's true. I also don't have data specifically, mostly because this is one of the problems with these platforms. This is one of my biggest problems with everything is controlled by 5 big tech companies, and they're all very closed doors. So we don't have a lot of, there's no transparency in how they operate, what they're doing, what their demographics. There's very little that they give us.
What stat are you looking for, Kate?
I was looking at the age of Twitter users, and I found a Pew report. There's probably something newer, but this is the first thing that came up when I Googled it. According to the Pew Research Center, the median age of adult Twitter users in 2019 was 40. While the median age of US adults was 40. The majority of Twitter users were between 18 and 49.
Yeah, so it does skew older.
So it does skew a little bit older. It's certainly not teens. Teens are using Instagram, Snapchat, and TikTok. Okay.
Yeah, but to circle this conversation back around to the main topic, very much Twitter skews older. I imagine TikTok skews younger, and that might be why we're having a lot of weird things happening. Because I feel like there's a lot of disdain for TikTok armies.
Yeah.
When a lot of times it's just they're misunderstood. Sometimes, hold on, to clarify, sometimes TikTok armies do things where I'm like, this is unhinged. This is not okay. Sharing fan site photos, sharing airport photos. They have the whole thing where it's Jungkook is jealous or whatever. They have a lot of things where I feel younger people would probably construe this and misunderstand and not be fully thinking about the consequences of their actions here. So a lot of times TikTok armies are in the wrong, but sometimes people are swinging and hitting at them when they don't need to be swung at. You know?
I will say, so there is the whole, I do think there's a generational thing going on. And I do think that with that, and especially considering the platform differences, I think that the types of content that happen on TikTok look so much different than Twitter that I think that there's a lot of misunderstandings there too. Because with TikTok, you have to do a lot of weird stuff and play with whatever's trending at the time just to get stuff to hit at all. And so some of that is not going to translate. If you're a Twitter user, you're not going to understand any of that, right? You're not going to understand, why are you using that weird music, and why aren't you using BTS music? It's because I'm trying to get this out there so people actually see it. And the other thing I want to say is that for as much as Twitter army bashes on TikTok, it's not like misinformation and unhinged sharing of private information and doxing people isn't happening on Twitter. I think one should reflect on oneself before blaming others for these problems.
Yeah, that's how I feel a lot about it too. There's the whole misunderstanding about video editing too, where a lot of Twitter armies have a problem with TikTok armies not using BTS songs in video edits, but very much the algorithms are different. The communities are different. What's baseline in the spaces is different. Because on Army Twitter, it's only BTS.
Right.
Only BTS visuals, music. We're not down for anything else. But on TikTok, very much, first off, a lot of multis.
Yeah.
Let's just get that out of the way. A lot of people who are not just armies. A lot of people come to TikTok and they want to watch engaging content. They want to watch pretty things. They want to watch things that grab their attention. Okay, this is not to say it's a bad thing, but a lot of people don't go to TikTok for discourse and for conversation.
Right. Because it's almost completely impossible to have on TikTok discourse or conversation. So that's another one of the platform things, right? So for people who don't use TikTok, there's a video that somebody has created, and there is a way to reply to that video in the comments, but the comments have a limited character count. And sometimes if the creator enables it, there's ways to stitch videos and stuff. But the conversation, if you actually want to have one, happens in this weird, in the comments, plus the creator of the video can reply to your comment with a video. So all the conversational power lies in the original creator's hands. And so they're the ones that can control the conversation. They're the ones that have a lot more ability to have length and nuance in their replies in the conversation. And then the second people start stitching things or duetting things or whatever you do on TikTok anymore, there's no longer a conversation, that kind of gets blown out, and there's no way to it's really hard to trace that stuff in a conversational way. On Twitter, we can go into the quotes, and we could, at least when it wasn't broken, you could follow the conversation out a little. It's a lot harder to do that on TikTok. So there's really not, people are not going there for the discourse. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. Because I see TikTok as a space for meme content and creative. Yeah. And that's the stuff that thrives on that website. And that is okay. Not every single website needs to be Army Twitter. Let's be real here. Army Twitter is an anomaly out of everything. I think something that TikTok does like really well is creative content. I think if someone sees a video with Park Jimin dancing, it doesn't have to be to a BTS song, but see a video of him dancing, that could make them an army.
Hello, that's me. I'm the army. In case anybody's wanted to know, I saw a video of him dancing, not to his music. Somebody else put another song over the top, and I wanted to know more. So here we are.
Yeah, so you're living proof of kind of that example of the fact that I really feel TikTok is the preliminary getting into BTS. And then also it's a very rich place for creative work and for funny creative work as well. Yeah. So a lot of memes, there's that one TikToker, Sahi, and they make amazing, funny content, hilarious. And we need spaces for that type of content. That type of content would not thrive on Army Twitter because the video content, have you seen a video try to play on Twitter? It's impossible. But on TikTok, that thrives. And it's great. Even Twitter armies are laughing over that type of stuff.
I know, they're taking the TikTok videos and trying to get them to fly on Twitter. That's where we're at right now. We can badmouth TikTok army all we want, but then we're sharing TikTok content.
Yeah. I feel instead of focusing on the differences of our platforms, we should highlight and appreciate them. Because when we don't do that, a lot of times I feel it segregates us or it separates us further from each other, when really at the end of the day, we are all here together for BTS. One of my moods told me this, but she was like, you're kind of an extremist. And I was like, I feel like I am kind of, where if there's anything that ARMY believes in or BTS believe in, I take it to 100. We don't support airport photos. And I'm cool. We don't support airport photos. And also, I'm going to make a video about it. I'm also going to talk about it all the time. And if I ever see an airport photo, I'm going to quote retweet it and then be, this is an airport photo. Please stop sharing it. I take that to 100. But a lot of times, it's like a scale of how on board you are with kind of army change and the ingrained in the community. I'm all the way on the other side. But there's some people who are just in the middle, hanging out. And that's okay. Not every person has to be as intense of an army as you are in order to be an army and for order for you to coexist with them.
Yes.
Basically.
Agreed. You need the variety in the community, right? We need people who are all in to keep the community moving and to keep, like, we wouldn't be a community if we didn't have kind of pillars of people who were actually making sure community norms were understood and educating people and making sure that we're calling in different groups of the community. But we also need people who are just here to engage with the content or engage with the conversations or just hang out and have fun. We need all those different kinds of people. And we need all the different kinds of creative types. We need all the different kinds of people who are going to be on TikTok making the funny memes, but we also need the people who are ready to engage in the more heavy discourse. They don't have to be the same person, right? The greatest thing about Army is there's so many of us. We can all fulfill these different roles without overtaxing a single person.
Yes, because I think there's times where Army Twitter, they try to act like they need to do everything.
Yeah.
Which is unrealistic. This whole initiative on Army Twitter of, guys, we need to take over TikTok. We need to go into TikTok and we need to become the big accounts. And I'm okay, go do it. Go do it. And then guess what? They never do it. So that's the whole thing. It's you keep on trying to act what you have in your space is the best thing. But really, each platform gives something to the community, gives something to Army, gives something to BTS. Let's not forget here that armies do donation drives on every single platform. Armies make creative content on every single platform. Armies talk about BTS on every single platform. And that's all you need. Yeah. That's all you need. Yeah. You do not need to be discoursing 24/7 on a website, because that is not realistic of how a community operates. Can you imagine if you're in the middle of a theater performance and halfway through they're like, okay guys, daily news segment right here. There's spaces for different things.
I was just going to agree very strongly with you. I'll also say that to the underlying point here too is that there are tons of different places to be social, online and offline, just all over the place. There's lots of places for Army to be social, and we should just let people do their thing in those spaces and be social in those spaces. And the cool thing, and we talk about this from a theoretical level a lot in research, you've got some people doing research on, what is the Twitter platform or what is the Facebook platform and what are people doing there? And I've always had this more kind of big picture view of what is the constellation of spaces that people are occupying and what are they doing and what is the differences between those spaces. Imagine like a big network map or something, right? How are they actually interacting and flowing between one another? And I think there's some really cool stuff that happens, right? Because we've got this kind of discourse happening on Twitter, but then you see some of that spilling over into places TikTok or Instagram, but then you also have the cool creative stuff flowing back and all these different things are happening. And I think that it's important that we keep celebrating the fact that we are in all these different places, because there are lots of communities that aren't even big enough to be able to do that. And we can literally find ourselves everywhere.
I hard agree with that. It's the fact that I feel a lot of people don't appreciate how diverse and amazing our community is. Because I don't know. There's sometimes where I feel people focus on how other people are not doing something that they think should be integral to an Army space. And really, there's no curiosity in that. A lot of Instagram armies run cup sleeve events. Why do they run most cup sleeve events run by Instagram armies? That's the tea.
Aren't a lot of cup sleeves kind of organized by people who are invested in actually selling their fan art and merch and stuff? Isn't that one of the driving things behind cup sleeves?
Okay, there's multiple things going on here. There's that portion of it.
But we are now digressing, but let's go.
Let's go. Why not? That's a portion of it, but I also feel there's just a lot of people who are involved in their Army city accounts or Army
Right.
community, and then they
Yeah.
run those. Because
Yeah.
I know the cup sleeves in my hometown, when they do them, there's no fan art or selling of anything. But I know
Oh,
in
interesting.
LA specifically, and especially in the Bay Area in California,
Yeah.
they do more little markets.
Yeah. Every cup sleeve I've ever been to has tables, booths, essentially, with vendors, bunch of them. And they're usually the ones that have come together. And sometimes with the support of the city army account, the Bay Area account, or whatever, are the umbrella organizers, but often the driving force is the vendors because that's how they are actually, making money.
Yeah, that's true. It's two different types. I know there's vendors in Bay Area, LA, but back where I'm from, even the Valley
Mhm.
area of California, you get the drink.
Mhm.
Sometimes they have custom drinks for
Yeah.
the birthday or event.
Right.
They do drink and then they do the cup sleeve. Sometimes you get a photo card or stickers or
Hmm.
other freebies, but it's in a packet. So you get that and that's it. There's no
Yeah.
vendors or anything. And it's a couple days or it's a week long where at any time you can go in. You can
Interesting.
get it and then you get the freebies too with it. I don't know,
Okay.
interesting part there. See, again, differences in how things work.
Yeah.
Same message, same good thing.
Yeah.
Again, we don't need to be arguing about what is good, what is bad. Some people are like,
Yeah.
what's good is if you're always reporting things. And I'm like, I don't think you should do that. Hot take. Hot
Feels
take, I
like,
know.
feels
You
like,
should not
yeah.
be reporting 24/7. It will actually kill your mental health.
Yeah. For real. Listeners, don't do that.
Don't do that. I can share that used to be I used to report a lot of accounts. So this was like
Uh-huh.
2020 when that whole Mr. Beast thing happened and
Right.
then the BTS Army history account and everything, and then there's accounts and then Double Key, that one Twitter account, made a ton of money. If we
Yeah.
estimate it,
So
made a lot of
yeah.
money promoting. And basically, I reported a lot of those during that time. And it did kill my mental health. It did. There was a certain point where I would get so frustrated because I would report some of them and then they'd get taken down. And then the next day, it's even more.
Right.
So you really have to know yourself and not fall into this loop of only doing one thing as an army because you will
Yeah.
actually go insane. That
Yeah.
is the truth. That is the truth.
Especially if you are now on the platform formerly known as Twitter, where I'm not entirely sure the report button even works anymore.
Honestly, I think it's working, but only when it catches auto things. Oh, that person very clearly said the word KYLL.
Right. Yeah, because I submitted a lot of reports. I report things that show up in my notifications. So if I get bot activity and stuff, I've been reporting those, but all of them have come back to my email found not in violation of our rules.
Yeah, there's a whole thing. You were talking about it too, about how on Twitter the quality of life team is completely gone.
Oh yeah, I don't know who they've rehired at this point. No one I know, but I can tell you that a whole bunch of people got laid off / fired from the accessibility team. The whole entire ethics team was laid off. Yeah, anything that had anything to do with quality of life at Twitter were gone as soon as it got taken over. And I know this because I actually know the people on those teams. So they were all looking for jobs. So I know that all those teams got completely disbanded.
It's a rough time on Twitter right now. I know we're talking about all these different communities and that, but I guess to add on to this podcast episode for some spice, if Twitter were to go down and we had no platform left, where would we go? Where would we go?
I think if we're truly in the spot that we're in right now with what is out there, the blue sky is meant to be the Twitter replacement. It looks literally just Twitter, in case anybody was wondering. I was on there just yesterday checking it out. So there's places like Blue Sky, which are still in beta. So it's not technically publicly available yet. A lot of it's just people are going to get scattered to the wind and try to figure out other platforms that work for them. I have a bigger meta thought about all this in that I would like to envision a future, and a lot of other technologists and academics in the technology field are feeling the same way. I have to envision a future where our ability to be social on the internet is not dictated by the big five technology companies. And I would like to envision a world where we have neutral social media platforms. So publicly owned, publicly controlled, or at least community owned and community controlled platforms where we're not beholden to some wackadoodle billionaire with eccentric ideas or has their own thoughts of fascist ways of ruling the world or whatever it is they're doing these days. That is where I'm at. That's the big picture I'd love to eventually see with our social media. And I'm not the only one that feels this way, so I'm feeling emboldened to say that. But where we are right now, especially because these technology companies are largely residing in the United States, and the United States doesn't have really strong laws around monopolies, and we're in just a really bad place politically for trying to take apart these big tech companies. We're stuck with these platforms that are all in death spirals and not doing great things for the people who are trying to use them.
I do understand where you're coming from with that. I know in fandom spaces, there's been a long talk of the death of forums, how everyone just goes to Reddit now or to Discord servers instead of making their own forums for communities. And it's a lot of game communities and a lot of old fandom communities would live on forums. And now those things just don't exist because everyone goes to the social media sites, the big five now.
And I actually have thoughts about that. I wish we would go back to forums, honestly, because what we're getting when we go to these social media sites are our social experiences are being manipulated and controlled by algorithms that we have no transparency into. Whether we like it or know it or whatever or not, we are being controlled. What we see and what people see from us is being manipulated by algorithms that I'm not even sure the companies that own the algorithms fully understand how they work. And so to me, that's a little bit scary, thinking about the fact that we are all basically in this weird social experiment of we're all just interacting, but only because the algorithm decided we were going to interact. And it sounds really dystopian, but it's true. And one solution to that is to go back to a model where we're using forums where everything is stagnant. Nothing is controlling, nothing's putting stuff to the top of your feed. No, it's all just there for you to search and find and scroll through chronologically, right? Or go by topic or tag or whatever, but it's all within your control and it's transparent to you how you're finding that information.
I feel that. It's frustrating that there's essentially no space like that exists anymore. Even on Reddit, if you're on your homepage, it's all just algorithmic. And if you want to look at chronologically what's going on, you have to manually change that and then look at everything. And it's frustrating, in my opinion, because I remember when I was younger being on forums, and it was so much easier to see conversations happening.
Right. And you can trace them and you can see who's participating in them. You don't necessarily know who they are in real life, but you get to know usernames, you get to know people, and it's all very much in your control. And I understand that there is a place for these algorithms somewhere, but we're feeling the impacts of it and we still don't fully understand what is happening. But we don't really know what this is doing to us as a whole society. And just in the breakdown of Twitter and seeing the kind of decomposition, if you will, of my own timeline on Twitter and how things have just gotten so toxic and weird in a space that I had very much curated before. And now I use the chronological following only timeline and it's still a hot mess. And the fact that's just that one little example of how this is propagating out into the world. To me, it's just we're in this really big social experiment. Nobody knows how this is going to end, but it's impacting not just our communities in our fan spaces, but it's impacting our whole society.
Yeah. Again, fandom is not existing in a vacuum away from the problems of politics and society
for sure.
and everything.
And in I'll just say that in a lot of ways, fandom is the canary in the coal mine, right? It's look what's happening here. This is a good way to get the temperature check on what's happening everywhere, right? This is not happening in a vacuum. This is very much warning us that there are bad things happening everywhere. And here we're having a really prime example of the ways things are breaking down. And we should be trying to stop this before it gets worse.
Yeah. I know we touched on this in the fandom research episode too, but fandom very much is one of the only existing communities online that are active and actually engage with each other. Fandoms are literal communities of people online they can see, and they are affected by real life things. So thus, their experiences, what they're going through, it's very much reflective of society as a whole. So fandom research is valuable. Once again,
it's almost like we're all doing this for a reason.
It's almost like we collect so much data for a reason, Kate. I can't. But yeah, to circle back to this conversation about platforms too. I know in fandom, the culture overall, fan culture, there have been attempts to make social media sites that are specifically for fandom. And I've explored a couple, especially with Twitter self-destructing at the moment. Slowly but surely. It is dying right now. It's a slow, painful death. Just do it to us. But yeah, I've looked into other social media platforms. So really, nothing can compare to what we have with Twitter. Because there are specific, like, I'll say some. There's Dreamwith, which is based off of LiveJournal. There's Pillow Fort, which has been a thing since 2017. It's a blogging site. And then there's Boba Board. So those are the big three kind of fandom-specific social media sites, specifically for fandom. And of course, there's Amino, as always. But I don't know anyone who's used Amino since 2018. So here we are.
Every time I accidentally end up there, I just get so very confused. I don't even understand how to navigate it. And then I just click out of it quickly because it just is very...
It is a UX design nightmare.
Oh my God. Yeah, don't even talk to the UX part of me because it makes me want to die inside a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah. But very much, even though there are things that exist already specifically for fandoms and built for fandoms, I feel there's nothing built specifically for Army. Because of that, we are just struggling right now. I told my moots, saying that in real life sounds wrong. I just don't like that word anymore. My mutuals, the people who are my friends on Army Twitter, I've told them that I'm gonna go to Tumblr if anything goes down. I'm like, hey guys, I'm gonna go over there. Find me over there. But very much, I feel like it would like scatter our community if Twitter went down.
Yeah.
And it would take us a long time to recover.
Yeah, agreed. But one of the interesting things I think about Twitter, not to give Twitter Army any more of the superiority complex than they need, but one of the things that I think Twitter Army, one of its strengths, is that it tends to be the hub between the other platforms, right? So we've got TikTok content coming onto Twitter. We've got Instagram content coming onto Twitter. So I tend to see Twitter as a place where I can go and find out what's happening everywhere. And so if we do lose Twitter, we lose that kind of hub effect that it's been creating to some respect. And that is going to be really hard. We truly need a news site. We need a place where we can just go and be, all right, what's the Bangtan news today? And then I can go to my other platforms and talk with my friends or whatever. But I need a place where all the translators, translate their stuff. I need that central news source. And I think would be the thing I miss the most if Twitter went down.
I feel that. With translators, I feel a lot of them would go to Tumblr just for the fact that a lot of them already have Tumblr accounts. And Instagram would be a nightmare to post translations on. Oh my God. If I had to post a long form piece of text on Instagram, I would explode immediately upon trying to post that. But Tumblr,
that's a no.
I don't know. I have mixed feelings about that. I love Tumblr. It's my home, basically. And that's where I come from. That's the people I know. That's the platform I know. But I feel like losing Twitter would be so drastic. And it would it really would just fracture our community.
Yeah.
And it would set us back a lot.
Yeah.
And we would adapt, of course.
Yeah.
And maybe someone will make a social media platform that helps in this situation.
Yeah,
but
maybe.
I know there's preliminary things right now with a lot of different groups. It shows promise, but I don't have my hopes up because a lot of times big army projects self-explode and self-destruct.
Yeah, I've seen that happen a number of times.
Yes. I
In
wonder
my short
with
tenure.
what. Ooh, so interesting. All those things exploding. I'm like, oh, I thought that would never explode, but here it is exploding. Anyway, when it comes to army, we're on different platforms. We do different things. But yeah, what's your final thoughts about it, Kate?
My final thoughts. Army are everywhere. We use all the platforms, and we should celebrate that instead of demonizing the platforms that we don't exist upon ourselves. And I think that, you know, I would like to get to a place where we're framing everything in terms of strength and contribution, and not even contribution in a capitalist productive way, but which things are making me smile today. And maybe someday that's a TikTok edit, maybe some days that's some Instagram post or something. I think that there's lots of things from lots of different spaces that bring value to us as a community, and I think we should celebrate that. And I think my other wrap-up thought is that if we're gonna start talking about the negatives in one particular platform community, we should also take a minute to reflect upon our own platform communities, because we've all got problems everywhere, and we should think about that.
I agree. And very much I agree. There's just a lot going on. And having more things, having different things in a fandom is really good. Because that means that not only one person is doing everything. And that's what we need. We can't just have one platform producing everything for the fandom. That is not realistic.
Especially if said platform is like self-combusting.
Yeah, it's self-destructing right now. So we need other platforms to exist and make fun, cool things without it exploding. So we need that. But yeah, that's been this episode. Thank you everyone so much for listening. And remember, as always, to stream BTS 24/7, 365 days in a year, 7 days a week.
Oh.
As Jungkook of BTS has said, that is gospel right there. And we're filming this on the eve of when Too Much is going to come out.
That's
so
right.
Stream Too Much.
We have music coming. Woo!
Yeah. Stream Too Much, stream Golden and its title track, stream everything. Yeah. Yes. Okay, that's it. Take care, everyone. Bye.
Bye.